Good morning, everybody. It's Dana Brigman. It is coming upon that time of year where we start to see critters outside come alive and try to find their way to our animals. So I wanted to share a couple of thoughts on things that you can do in a natural way to help mitigate that or minimize some of those issues. First of all, I want you to think about how food plays into this. So when we go outside, I know that there are a number of things that like to agitate me. I don't know what it is about my skin, the way it smells, whether it's my blood or what, but I can pretty much get eaten alive in the late afternoon in the South. So I really like to use the Young Living insect repellent that was announced last year. It's been FDA approved as a true insect repellent. It's DEET free, and it really does work. So take it from somebody like me who gets eaten alive, it really does work. But so if we think about that, we also don't often see a lot of fleas and ticks on you and I. It happens, and in fact, the only tick that I've ever seen on a critter around my house, and that's been in the 3 years of a very wooded area that I live in, has been on me, right? Not necessarily on the dogs. But where I'm headed with this is when we are healthy, have healthy skin and not sort of this animal-esque skin that attracts critters, then our body is doing some things that help naturally prevent that, right? So that same thing happens when our animal's body and skin is healthy. And so my dogs haven't been on any sort of topical or oral prevention in years. I started with thinking that I needed to apply an essential oil solution, and I did that for a long time. And then I finally trusted enough to just give it a try, trusting that the food they were eating from Volhard Nutrition had some natural deterrents in it as well. And so it's those things like rich in vitamin B that you find in blackstrap molasses and apple cider vinegar and brewer's yeast and a variety of things that are built into that food as supplements that help the body take care of itself better. So now the only time I bring out a spray for the dogs is if we're going to be like out in the woods, right? So just going out and hanging out in the yard, I don't spray them down very much at all. I spray me to get rid of the late afternoon creepy crawlers, but I don't spray them very much. If I were. And so you can create your own sprays that help deter these insects and whatnot from landing on you or agitating you and your dogs. So a couple of things to keep in mind. One is spray your yard, right? That's where all of this really originates, is in the yard. So I spray down my yard with cedar wood. Now, I purchased my cedar wood from Wonderside, from a company that makes an all-natural cedar wood product, because the small little bottles of cedar wood that I get from Young Living just wouldn't go very far in spraying down a couple of acres of land, right? So obviously I don't spray the whole thing, but I spray down the front yard, and I spray down out by the pool and the areas in which the dogs get to play. And I'll spray the trees and the shrubs and the grass and everything, right? So that happens at least a couple times a month, maybe once a week if I'm out watering the flowers or plants. I'll put that little thing on the garden hose and just spray while I'm watering, right? If you want to make something that becomes like a little bottle, and this is what this is, a little bottle of spray to go directly on the animals, then you can make your own little concoction. So there are lots of different choices of oils that you could put into a mix. And I usually start with like eucalyptus and lemongrass. Those are two really good natural deterrents for insects. So I usually start with that. And then I might add in geranium or lavender or purification, or you got a bunch of choices, right? Some of it is, what do I have on hand? And is that going to work? Is that going to start to be helpful for that? But if you start with sort of a common base, then a lot of things will work. And so that's the beauty of essential oils. Again, we talked yesterday about the quadrants of oils. When you get into certain categories of constituents, then a lot of things will work, right? If you happen to get stung by something, and the other day I was out in the front yard and I happened to just sit down playing with one of the dogs that I was training, and guess what I sat in? A pile of ants. And so it's like, oh my God, right? Well, a little purification dabbed on those spots that are starting to really sting and itch will be very helpful. So purification can be a drawing oil, meaning it can pull stuff out. And we often think of it as making things to smell better, but it does so much more than that when you use it in the right opportunities. And so a little bit of purification on those sting spots helps mitigate and offer relief really, really fast and for a very sustained amount of time. So whether it's you or your animal that has gotten into something that has left your skin inflamed and agitated, think about purification as something that you would use for that. So you have lots of options to naturally protect your animal and yourself from things that are crawling around, flying around, and landing on them. Just to be clear, I continue to use heartworm prevention for my dogs. I know people who do natural solutions for that, but deep South girl here, knowing what I know about heartworms and the damage that they can do to our animals, I'm just not risking that. I personally make some modifications to the schedule and the things that I'm doing there, but that's my choice, right? That's something that I choose to do. So anyway, I bring this up because it's coming on that time of year to let you know you have lots of options, whether you go down the path of using the insect repellent product that Young Living now has available, or you start making your own annoyance spray. And then, of course, that I want you to start spraying down the yard. You have options to do that and to get those topical and oral products out of your dog. And I do mean out of, right? Because all of that is basically going into the bloodstream and living in your dog's body, so that when those insects are biting the animal, that they will die. It's not necessarily deterring them from getting on. It is causing them to die once they bite and ingest some of the blood of the animal. So there's toxins living in your dog's body to make that happen. So that's not going to happen for my dogs ever again, and I don't want it to happen for your dogs. Even the 8-month collars that a lot of dogs are wearing now, go do a little research about that. There's information available to you to go understand what that product really is. But it too is of course, everything is chemicals, right? You and I are made of chemicals, but these are not necessarily the best of chemicals that are living on your dog's neck and therefore being internalized into their body. So that collar's on them for 8 months at a time, with a bit of that chemical constituent making its way into the skin, into the bloodstream, into the body. So I'm not recommending the use of those either, especially knowing that we have great food options and great natural essential oil options to support our animals during the spring and summer, and the wildlife that's going on out there around us. So hope this is helpful, and I'll chat with you guys soon.